Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Personality. Al-Abbas ibn Ali alayhimus salam was a whole world of virtues and merits. His personality included each and every lofty characteristic. It is, however, sufficient honor for him to be the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, the model of human perfection. Thus, Al-Abbas inherited all elements of human perfection from his father and became, in the sight of Muslims, the epitome of virtue and high moral standards. Let me now refer to some of these elements. Courage. Since it denotes the soundness and perseverance of personality, courage is regarded as the highest characteristic of manhood. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas came into this characteristic from his father, who was the ever most courageous. Al-Abbas's maternal uncles also were characterized by this feature among all the Arabs. He was a perfect word of valor. Fear had never been on his mind during battles in which he participated in. During the Battle of At-Taf, Al-Abbas gave the highest examples of heroism and courage. In fact, that battle is seen as the greatest conflict in the history of Islam. Facing the large gatherings of Yazid's army, Al-Abbas manifested himself so bravely that he changed the courageous warriors into cowards and filled into the hearts of their troops with horror. Losing any means to face this great hero, they went on using deceptive ways. They promised they would give him the general commandment of their army if he would leave the camp of his brother. But Al-Abbas put them down, and their promise was no more than a factor that increased his perseverance on his principle. But Al-Abbas put them down, and their promise was no more than a factor that increased his perseverance on his principles and persistence on defending his beliefs. Narrators have referred to the great casualties that Yazid's army suffered at the hands of Al-Abbas ibn Ali alayhimus salam, who was smiling in the midst of that fight. He did fill the fields of that battle with bodies of their victims, did paint their horses with their blood, and did plant horror and terror in their hearts. His sword was a destroying thunderbolt that inflicted bereavement and fatality upon people of Kufa who were on the opposite party. The courage of Al-Abbas has astonished poets and authors who have gone on describing it in none such style, and given best examples of heroism all over history. Since this courage was shown for defending the right and protecting the high values of Islam, its significance has been increasing. Faith. Faith was another major feature in the personality of Al-Abbas. He was brought up in the laps of true faith, centers of the God-fearing, and faculties of obedience to God. His father, chief of the faithful and head of the pious, fed him with the essence of faith and faculty of God's oneness. Hence, Al-Abbas grew up on the cognizant faith and the true pondering over the secrets of creation. This giant, none such faith interacted in the mentality of Al-Abbas to change him into one of the great individuals of faith, piety, and sincerity. Out of his faith, Al-Abbas offered his brothers, sons, and himself as pure sacrifices for the sake of God. Bravely, Al-Abbas fought for defending the religion of God and protecting the principles of Islam that were exposed to the eradicative dangers during the reigns of the Umayyad ancestry. He aimed nothing other than the satisfaction of God and the attainment of the eternal joy of the life to come. Disdain and sense of honor painted the personality of Al-Abbas so densely that he refused completely to live in humbleness under the shadows of the Umayyad rulers who usurped the wealth of God and treated people as slaves. Thus, he pushed himself in the fields of fighting, following his brother who raised the slogan of honor and dignity and declared that death would be no more than pleasure, while to live with the wrongdoers would be only humility. During the Battle of At-Taf, Al-Abbas represented all the concepts of disdain and sense of honor when he rejected proudly the commandment of Yazid's army if he would leave the camp of his brother. As a result, he pushed himself sincerely in the fields of the battle, felling the warriors and harvesting his enemies' heads, all for defending his freedom, religion, and dignity. Patience. On the day of Ashura, Al-Abbas had to encounter unspeakable crisis. Nevertheless, he did not show any item of intolerance or worry, and did not utter any single word of resistance. On the contrary, he provided the whole matter to his Lord, the Most High, and confided his brother, Al-Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam, whose patience was heavy as unshakable mountains. Al-Abbas saw the companions of his brother melted by the sun on the dust of Karbala, heard the weeping of the children out of their thirst, and heard the moaning of the harem who were mourning for their men, and saw the lowliness of his brother who was encircled by the meanest enemies, intending to kill him so as to win the prize of the governor of Kufa. In the midst of all these crises, Al-Abbas submitted to his Lord completely without showing any weakness. Loyalty. Loyalty is the noblest characteristic one can have. Al-Abbas set a record in this field when he represented all features of loyalty distinguishably. Loyalty to the religion. Al-Abbas was the most faithful and the best defender to his religion. When Islam had to encounter the eradicative danger that the Umayyad band, who renounced Islam completely and declared war against it, Al-Abbas dedicated himself to fighting on all fronts for defending his religion and raising the word of God on earth. For sake of his principles of his religion, his hands were cut and he was martyred. Loyalty to the nation. As he noticed his nation sinking down under the gloomy nightmare of humility due to the absolute despotism of the Umayyad band who played in people's fates, Al-Abbas understood that his mission was to proceed for saving them from the scathing faith accompli. Along with his brother, family members, and those glorious companions, they raised the slogan of freedom and declared the holy jihad ceaselessly until they were martyred for so. This, in fact, is the most elevated loyalty to the nation. Loyalty to the homeland. One of the Umayyad rulers once declared, Iraq is no more than a garden possessed by the Qurayshites. Hence, they regarded the Islamic homeland as a garden at their disposal. On this account, poverty, and misery were the two major characteristics of the Islamic homeland. Besides, the righteous and the free people were subjected to humility. Thus, Al-Abbas, under the commandment of his brother, opposed this ruling regime and its authorities, who thanks to the self-sacrifice of Al-Abbas and his party, collapsed. This was the true loyalty to the Islamic homeland. Loyalty to his brother. It is incumbent upon each Muslim to swear allegiance to the Imam who lives in his time. Hence, Al-Abbas gave the best example of being faithful to the allegiance to the Imam of his time, his brother Al-Hussein alayhi salam. All over history, you cannot find an item of loyalty more exalted than that of Al-Abbas to his brother and leader. Hence, his loyalty has become the extremity that attracts every free, honest man. Willpower. Willpower is one of the characteristics of the great ones, whose deeds have always been successful. Since it is impossible for the weak to achieve any social aim or any political work, Al-Abbas was full of determination. He joined the right camp and did not show negligence or shortcoming. On the stage of history, he had shown himself as being the glorious leader who deserves pride and immortality. Mercy and kindness. Al-Abbas enjoyed the highest standards of morality. He was so kind and merciful with the underprivileged and the persecuted. In Karbala, when the troops of Yazid occupied the banks of the Euphrates and deprived the other party of water, Al-Abbas showed the most clear-cut signs of kindness and mercy when he saw that his brother's children, as well as others, pale-faced, dry-lipped because of thirst. Seeing this view, Al-Abbas pushed himself toward the river and came back with water for those children. On the 10th of Muharram, he also heard the children crying because of thirst. Therefore, his kindness and feelings of mercy prompted him to sate their thirst. He took the container and faced the enemy so bravely that he could take them away from the river. As he was about to have a drink, he remembered the thirst of his brother and his children. He therefore refused to drink before he would sate the thirst of those ones. Has anyone ever seen, heard, or known of such feelings of mercy and kindness at any person other than Al-Abbas, who climbed to the highest summits of glory because of the characteristics of unique personality?